Welcome to week 2 of Mpai 600 here at Georgetown University's Applied Intelligence program. Welcome to any newcomers we have come straggling in, and I hope, again, you guys can get caught up on everything. And I want to thank everyone for being a little bit flexible. This week is a little bit compressed, and I had to fix a lot in addition to the material to get people registered and get textbooks and all those things. So I appreciate everyone's flexibility. So just announcements. Keep up the effort. I think we had some good discussion posts on the Osama bin Laden capture. So please keep that level of effort, and if you'll have them marked by Monday or on Monday, so you know what I'm looking for on the discussion posts for the remainder of the class. But right now, I think everyone did a pretty solid effort, and the one thing I just want to say is keep it up. The tendency is to go down as the semester goes on. The effort level goes down, but just please keep up this level of enthusiasm. Please post again by Thursday, 11:59 p.m., just so you could spend your weekend interacting with your fellow students and analyzing their arguments as well. So again, just try and keep that. I know we had the first week and it was a little bit of a wash, and that's okay, but from here on in, let's try and keep postings on Thursday. So current events, as current events is due for your class every week, I would like to discuss current events in my weekly YouTubes. So current events, as most of you know, we have a new CIA director, and it was because of a shakeup that happened in the Trump administration's cabinet, and what has transpired is that she was involved in some of the enhanced interrogation techniques that were used after 9/11. Now, there's a lot of debate out there. Was she responsible for it? Was she following orders? I don't want to get into those levels of details. I do want to talk about enhanced interrogation techniques, or torture, if you want to, depending on your definitions. And I bring that up because it's very relevant to week 1, and it'll be very relevant to week 2. And I should be forewarned, I come down on one side. I think we made these mistakes. I think we went a little too far on our interrogations after 9/11. There might have been a little bit because of movies like Zero Dark 30 and some selective leaks. People thought we waterboarded everyone, we tortured. It wasn't a whole lot of people. We waterboarded only 3 people. We subjected enhanced interrogation techniques to a few dozen, but I still think it was wrong for a number of reasons. One, I do think that it makes us look bad, even if it's only for a few dozen people. It makes we lose moral high ground. We look poorly as a country in doing so. That's number one. Number two, as someone who has done tactical interrogations, I have a feeling that some of this becomes not about intelligence or information gathering, but it becomes about being punitive, being punishment. You're not giving me an answer, so I'm going to slap you across the head, or I'm going to throw you in a little bit of a container just because I'm pissed off, for lack of a better term. And you don't think you'll get that way stepping back, but if you're in the room and you're actually doing these things, it's amazing how corrupted human nature can be. And then finally, I will say is information gets corrupted. You get bad information because of enhanced interrogation techniques. You will see in this documentary that we have for week 2, The Confessions, that even under mental duress, not physical duress, but mental duress, people gave all sorts of wrong information they confessed to crimes that they didn't commit. In fact, this has now become a Netflix special that I just saw that was on Netflix just a couple of days ago, that under duress, even mental duress, people will confess to crimes that they no way committed. You will see that in this week's documentary. You will see it in week 4 when we talk about the Iraq WMD. Under torture, by the Egyptian police or Egyptian security services. A human source said that there was Iraq was training Al Qaeda in WMD. Now, again, under torture, you will say anything. Under mental duress, you will say anything to get it stopped. That should make the information sometimes doesn't become or becomes invalid from a legal perspective, but it also becomes wrong, or is also wrong oftentimes. So again, when you think about enhanced interrogation techniques, just go through your head and say, am I doing this for intelligence or information gathering, or am I doing this because I'm mad because these people were responsible for 9/11 and I want to dish out some justice, or I'm mad because such and such person isn't answering my questions that I'm telling him that I'm trying to do. Food for thought as we go forward, and as you go forward in your careers. So, review of last week. Besides the admin stuff, obviously the UBL capture was the topic, and I wanted you to apply the collection disciplines to a case study that we saw a documentary on, and I think everyone did that pretty well. So the three key things: signals intelligence. Obviously, that's what the courier led, and using signals intelligence to the courier, which led us to Osama bin Laden. That was probably the kicker there that actually led us, that got us over the touchdown line there to actually capture Osama bin Laden. There was the human, the interrogation. Whether you think the interrogation was because of enhanced interrogation techniques, or whether he was going to, the driver was going to give information up regardless of if he did other interrogation techniques, I don't think we'll ever know. But that was the other key human that led us to the messenger, which led us to Osama bin Laden. So again, human, as I mentioned earlier, isn't just cool CIA stuff. It often is interrogations or passive conversations that you might have that lead you to an eventual success point. And then GeoInt. Some people mention this. I think it's key. The use of overhead imagery, the pacer. They determined that the pacer might be Osama bin Laden. Again, they used UAVs to do that. So you saw the advantage of imagery intelligence or geointelligence here, but you also saw the disadvantages. We knew the location, we knew exactly what we were looking for, but even with all our fancy gizmo overhead imagery, we still couldn't make 100% call that it was Osama bin Laden out there. The whole point of this was to show that all the intelligence disciplines kind of work together. They all have their advantages and disadvantages, but when they work together, they can cross-cue off each other to get information. You also have more verifiable information than if you just based it on one discipline as well. I'd also say, I don't have it here, but a couple people mentioned OSINT as well, and how OSINT was used to track the terrain, get an understanding of the city, of Abbottabad beforehand, and that certainly helped in the capture of UBL. So again, that's hopefully, you took the ints which you taught in the textbook and in my lecture, and then applied it to a real world scenario, which is the whole point of this course and this whole program, is to not just learn about these intelligence techniques, but to apply them in a real world scenario and get your minds wrapped around those types of issues. And then the intelligence cycle amended. We talked about the intelligence cycle in my lecture as well as in the Lowenthal. Again, you have the classic intelligence cycle, and then you have Lowenthal's, and you have mine. I'll let you decide on the intelligence cycle, what you think should go in, what shouldn't go in. What I am going to say is think about the process of intelligence or the intelligence cycle, because we're going to talk about case studies and history about Pearl Harbor and Iraq War and 9/11. And I want you to think, as we're going through those case studies, where in the intelligence cycle did this fall? Was the failure for like Pearl Harbor? At what point Was it bad collection? Was it bad analysis? Was the information not communicated to policy and military officers in a cogent manner? So think about that as we go forward in your strategy next week, as well as for the rest of the course. So week 2, collection strategy. Again, if you want to go ahead and pause me, I have an example of the collection strategy that someone did previously. So go ahead and pause me. Okay, so welcome back, and hopefully, you have a little more guidance on what I'm looking for the collection strategy. Again, very simple. I don't want you to. It's not designed that you do massive amounts of research, but you do need to do some, and you do need to put your thoughts in a cogent manner. So simple. Develop requirements, 3 to 4 requirements. Apply the intelligence disciplines so you can answer those requirements. Analyze the pitfalls in the collection cycle, and then be creative. Again, get very specific in your requirements, and try and just the whole point. And again, I'm not going to grade it too harshly, but I want you to be able to satisfy these requirements for the paper. But I want you to start thinking through all of these issues and just, again, be creative for this paper. So your readings, and I'm a little bit light on the readings this week because I know that you'll be working on your paper. But Lowenthal Chapter 6, that's the analysis section. The Intelligence Tradecraft Primer, that's a good overview of intelligence biases and pitfalls. And then the documentary, as I earlier mentioned, the PBS Frontline, The Confessions. And that will talk about, again, the lectures for this are twofold. I talk about requirements, and then I want you to do your paper. And then I talk about intelligence biases and intelligence pitfalls, which will project us into the following weeks for this course. And I think the documentary is a classic example of not just bad interrogation techniques, which I talked about earlier, but confirmation bias, where we come to a conclusion early without getting all the facts, and then any new information that comes in is used to confirm that erroneous assessment that we had, and all disproving information is set aside. That's a bias we all have, but it's especially pronounced if you're in a field like intelligence or medicine or law enforcement, where you don't have all the facts and you don't have all the information. Your mind has to fill in the gaps, and we tend to sometimes fill in those gaps erroneously with tragic results. So again, I thank you for your effort this week, and I look forward to your discussion and collection papers this coming week.